Hi, this is Russ Anderson. In this tutorial, I'm going to show the simple 360 VR stabilization method. Now, this doesn't provide absolute world reference stabilization so that the exact same direction in the real scene is exactly in the same direction in the 360 VR scene. But it is well suited for long traveling shots where it may be difficult to get an accurate solve without drift over the course of the shot, and where you may want to have the action of the scene drive a bit where the viewer's direction is being focused. So this is just our same test shot as from the other tutorial. Again, courtesy of the 360 Rise people, their little name change there. And since we're showing what you might do with a long shot, I'll point out that for handling long shots, often you'll want to go to the features panel's advanced dialog and just roll up the maximum tracker count. I'll set it up to 500. And especially the minimum numbers of trackers per frame value, and that's really the controlling value in this whole process. The maximum value can be exceeded in order to meet this minimum trackers per frame value. So those values are just a better idea for the longer shots where you need more trackers to cover it. And also in this particular method, we want to definitely have plenty of trackers per frame because we're only going to be using some of them. So we're going to go now and just run the auto tracker, and we're not going to do a 3D solve at all. So we've got now trackers throughout the entire scene, and you'll notice that there are plenty of them on the vehicle there, and we don't really care about them. For the simple stabilization method, we want to focus just on trackers that are far away, that don't exhibit parallax shifts to the extent possible. So we're going to just hold down the shift key and start lassoing a bunch of these trackers that are off in the distance. And this isn't an exact science. We're just going to roll through and look for some of these. And again, just hold down shift and keep on selecting them through the shot. And this helps make sure that we don't accumulate too much drift throughout the shot due to basically the perspective changes over the length of the shot. So there we've got a good collection of trackers that are far away out on the horizon. So we're going to use those to drive the stabilization process. So I'm going to bring up the image preprocessor that I did with the P key, and I'm going to click the Get Tracks button, which goes and grabs all the data from the selected trackers to use for stabilization. So now I'm ready to start configuring the stabilizer. And you can set different stabilizing modes for translation, which in this case is really the two pan and up-down motions, and for rotation, which is the roll around the camera axis. So for starters, we're just going to set both of them to peg, which gives us kind of the best simple approximation to the world stabilized method that we show otherwise that uses full 3D solves. So with the peg mode, it's trying to keep these trackers as much as possible in their initial configuration over the length of the shot. And you can see that it does that. Here's the sun. So it does a reasonable job of that. We can just go and click OK. And you'll see now it flushes the cache, and we're going and recomputing the new modified imagery that is stabilized using this definitely quick and dirty sort of method. And you'll see it really does a pretty nice job. And it's providing the same sort of absolute world stabilized mode as in the other method. But we also have the ability to do frequency-based stabilization as well. And here the cut frequency can be adjusted to control the amount of stabilization that's being applied to the shot. So, this preserves more the life, if you like, of the original shot. It maintains the change in orientation of the shot, in this kind of a shot where the vehicle is traveling through the scene. If you want to preserve sort of the direction of light, this kind of gives it to you more directly. I'll point out you can't go and make the cut frequency infinitely low there and expect something good to happen, because the value is in fact limited by the length of the shot. The shorter the shot, kind of the less accurately you can set the cut frequency. And it is also possible to animate that cut frequency to be different values at different parts in the shot, so that if you come up to a bad section in the shot where you hit a pocket of turbulence or whatever, some bumps in the road, you can go and drop the cut frequency down lower if you want, and then let it go back up at other spots. So let's just go, we'll do the same thing, drop back out and let it recompute the entire sequence of the shot. And now if you watch the sun, you'll see that it's slowly moving, and you can see a little bit of up and down motion in the horizon also that is being limited by that low pass filtering, but it is allowing some of that motion to still show through. So depending on what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish, you can set these parameters appropriately, and lets you art direct that appropriately. Now, as far as that art directing process is concerned, let's go here. We'll just put this back to peg. And now let's look. We've got this adjust tab that lets us superimpose animation on top of what we've got from the stabilizer. So maybe by some part in the shot here, I wanted to go and spin it, the view direction off, and to look in a different direction. So I can go and do that. So I've set a key there, somewhere in there. So again, we'll go and let it recalculate the entire sequence. And now you'll see that intentional applied motion in the beginning part of the shot, and then it stays in that new direction for the later part of the shot. So you can go and animate that up however you like, and go and use the graph editor to change the splining method of that to get whatever kind of motion you want. And again, that'll give you the ability to art direct what the basic straight ahead look direction of the shot is. And also it lets you go and compensate for any kind of drifts that have been created over the length of the shot, so that if your horizon is drifting a little bit over the length of the shot, you can go and fine tune that a bit or whatever. So it just gives you control over that. Now, one of the things I've ignored in this process, you see the trackers from this are going all over the place. And when you're ready to do so, you can just go over to the Output tab, click the Apply to Trackers button, and that applies the stabilization to the trackers themselves. So now you'll see that they're locked onto those spots on the scene. Now, the reason I didn't do that earlier is that now if I want to go back and change the stabilization settings, especially if I've used a frequency-based thing, or I'm going to go and add some animation, before I go and do that, the one catch is you need to go and remove that stabilization from the tracker data so the tracker data is back and corresponds to the original footage. So having done that, now I can go and change the stabilizer configuration around some more, or the applied animation, and then once I've completed that, then I can go and reapply it to the tracker data. So it just takes a little bit of care to make sure that you don't wind up basically double applying or double removing the data from the stabilization to the trackers. And it does need to have the same stabilization data available, the same stabilizer configuration to remove the stabilization as when it was applied. Otherwise, you're going to get different results. And finally, then, once you've got the result that you want, you're just going to click the Save Sequence button, set the file name and the compression settings, and hit the Start button. And then you've got a new stabilized version of your sequence. So this is a pretty straightforward approach. It's not suitable for adding 3D objects into the scene, but it is suitable for longer, complex shots that might have drifts, just getting things done quickly, where you don't need the super rigid, absolute world orientation that the 3D solving approach would give you. So it's another tool in your arsenal. Thanks for watching.